Let me see if I can share my screen. Also, yeah. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So, can you also, you can hear me okay, right? At this
Yes.
point?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect, perfect. So let's get started here. Hello, folks. Basically, you all know me by anyway. I think today I was given this topic of thoughts and manifestation. When I started thinking about the thoughts, I don't know where to start. It is a broad subject and a vast subject. The whole our life begins with a thought and ends with a thought. It is like a whole cycle of things goes on into this thing. But wanted to give a very short. I can talk about thoughts for almost a week if you want me to. But I want to give you a very profound, very small concept of where these thoughts are and the manifestation relation to it. So, many of us have been trying to manifest things. Many of us have been thinking of things that can work for us, but many of us fail from creating the things for us or manifesting things for us. Today, we will dive into the concept of manifestation, of why we are so much obsessed with manifestation to start with. I think that is the first question we need to ask. We'll go into manifestation in a bit, but the question is, $1 million question here is, do we know exactly what we need and why we want to manifest from here? And uh, what is a thought? Is it a kind of um, desire or thought is something different, or what is actually a thought? Why do we get the thoughts in the first place? Basically, if you want to look at something bigger, let's say you want to build a house. The house begins with a architect putting the idea onto a paper, which is called the paper design. Right? If you see a great pop singer or singers, the starting point is a tune that comes in somebody else's mind that shapes up into a song. And similarly, I think if we want to manifest a new life, manifest something new, it has to be originated from a thought. I would say instead of a thought, a meaningful thought. One thing to remember, folks, is manifestation is not magic. It is how the repeated thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and actions all these shape our brain, body, choices, and life direction. This is where the actual rubber meets the road. We'll talk more about this in the next few slides, but thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and actions. These are the key essential things that will shape us in future. So let me ask you this question. Is meditation essential to manifest things? Do you guys really think a meditation is really essential and really needed for manifesting things? Can someone answer? You guys?
Yes, for manifestation, you need to focus, and meditation help you to focus on the subject.
Okay. Very good, very good. So now let's understand how things go here. Okay. I want to take an example where um, the example doesn't involve meditation at this point, but it manifested. So here is one example that I wanted to give you. Okay. So before I do this, let me see if I can play a short video that actually.
There is no
Can you guys hear the sound?
way an animal could stay
The video that I am playing here, can you guys hear the sound?
alive without a head, right?
Is that audible or is
Yes,
it?
sir.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay, okay. Sounds good. So let's play this video. This is just a very short video and then we'll talk about this. Okay.
There is no way an animal could stay alive without a head, right? Meet Mike, the headless chicken. Mike was a male chicken that lived for over 18 months after his head had been cut off. On September 10, 1945, a farmer named Lloyd Olson from Colorado was planning to eat some chicken for dinner. He chose a 5-month-old chicken from his yard named Mike. Lloyd used an axe to chop off the head of the chicken, but he missed the jugular vein, leaving one ear and most of the brain stem intact, and Mike the chicken was still alive, still able to balance on a perch and walk normally. Once word started to spread around, the name Mike the Headless Chicken became famous. Mike began a career of touring in shows and he was photographed for dozens of magazines and newspapers. And Lloyd, as the owner, earned about $4,500 per month. But in March 1947, Mike started choking in the middle of the night. He managed to get a kernel of corn in his throat and died for not being able to breathe. There is no way an animal could.
Okay. So did you guys saw that whole video? You see this this little chicken. I think this doesn't know any manifestation. This doesn't know meditation. The poor chicken is only there to eat and bear the karma, right? This is a true story. You can go into the Google and search for him. Even today, I think they celebrate a special day on in the town of Fruta in Colorado. They host an annual Mike the Headless Chicken Day in June. So that is a special day dedicated for this chicken. Imagine a headless chicken can manifest. In fact, he has done a lot more than what he can. Actually, he toured the entire US and he earned $4,500 in 1945. Imagine $4,500 in 1945. That is like maybe $50,000 per month this year, right now. So much of money that he has been earning for its owner. And finally, this chicken died not because of her fault. It was because of the feeder's fault. He forgot to get the funnel and then he put wrong food into the chicken's throat and that went into a wrong direction and then finally that ended up this chicken. But imagine this chicken which doesn't have any I think meditation, any intelligence at this point, the pure consciousness and pure fight that it has to survive somehow, it want to live, has survived for almost 18 months. Can you imagine a chicken surviving without a head for 18 months and finally it died because of not her biological aging but somebody else's fault. So this is we would say it as miracle, right? But this chicken fought her for her life. She somehow wanted to live even though she cannot see, she cannot do anything that the other chickens can do, but this chicken has a very strong desire to live and the life she manifested from there. So now tell me, do we need a meditation? Do we need something that need to make the things happen for us. Maybe not. I think this story is telling us that the thought itself is so powerful. This chicken has a thought, and this chicken has a strong intention to live. That is what made the chicken to survive and live. I took this chicken example. There are a lot more examples of people who actually made up their life, who kind of survived many struggles. But I don't want to take those examples of human beings or somebody that actually has intelligence. I want to take this example, so I want to prove how thought is powerful, how powerful the thought is. Okay, so with that introduction, we'll get into the subject, folks. Does that make sense? Am I making sense, or am I talking to myself? Okay,
Yes.
anyway. Yeah, so let's keep moving then. So let's see, how many of us know the difference between a thought and a feeling? Okay, so the thought is the language of a mind. The mind speaks through thoughts. Okay, some people may think I can do this. Some thoughts may come, I am not enough for this. The thoughts we repeat become our mental habits. And this is where I think I loved this quote from Mahatma Gandhi. Your beliefs become your thoughts. Your thoughts become your words. Your words become your actions. And your actions become your habits. Your habits become your values, and your values become your destiny. This is a quote given to us by Mahatma Gandhi, and I would say that this quote exactly resembles all Upanishads. I think summary in this context here. Okay, thoughts are connected to a neural activity from a scientific point of view. If we want to talk about scientific nature, the thoughts are connected to the neural activity in the brain. Okay, and repeated thinking can strengthen certain brain pathways. Just like the repeated exercise strengthens muscles, the same thoughts that we keep on repeating strengthen and becomes very strong, just like what that chicken did. The chicken had only one thing in its thing, it want to survive, right? That is the strongest thought that made her to survive. Thoughts that fire together will, what happens? Will dash, right? The thoughts that fire together will wire, right? That is the famous saying from Hebanian theory, right? Now we know about the thoughts. We discussed about the thoughts at a very high level, right? Now let's talk about the feelings. What is the difference between a thought and a feeling? Feelings are the language of the body. Hear this clearly. Thoughts are language of the mind, while feelings are language of the body. Okay, this is very key, essential here. A thought happens in the mind, but the feeling takes it forward and happens in the body. The message from the mind converts into a feeling, and that appears on the physical body. When the thought and feeling join together, what happens? The baby forms. The message becomes stronger, right? The thought and feeling, when they combine together, it becomes much more stronger. It is bonded. For example, let's say if you say, I am safe, and you add calm feeling to it. This I am safe is coming from where? The mind. And the feeling is coming, calm feeling is coming from where? The body. You will be out of the cortisol at this point. You will be feeling safe. Let's say the same thought. Something is bad, something bad is going to happen. Let's say if you have this thought, and the thought triggers a fear in you. And what happens? You get into shivering. Your body tends to feel threatened at this point. So the mind is the language of, the thought is the language of the mind, body is the the feeling is the language of the mind. Body. So these are the two essential takeaways from this slide. Okay, so let's move on. I think this is a very interesting slide, I would say. Let's say you have a old memory. Let's say you had some very intense incident that happened like 15 years back. You were sitting somewhere and someone insulted you, or you went into that I think very humiliated situation there, and that memory captured in your subconscious mind. Even though that happened like 15 years back, that old memory captured into your brain at that point. Now you are sitting and having a sip of coffee, and then you are thinking about something, and that same thought which was there 15 years back came forward, and you started feeling the same feelings that you had on that day. Man, that guy insulted me in front of everyone. And then you start to get into that emotionally charged state. Okay, so now let's say this memory has the snapshot. Memory is nothing but a snapshot of that incident triggered this old thought. Now that thought became an emotion, right? This thought has nothing to do with emotion, but this thought triggered this emotion. That emotion has again raised inconsistent pattern in your life, and then you said, man, if I meet that guy, I want to shoot him. I will buy a gun in Walmart and shoot him. That's what your emotion is at this point. Now all of a sudden you were in a shopping mall and you met that guy in front of you. What happens? This old memory triggered the thought triggered this emotion. Now this emotion has reached to an action state, and this old behavior, I think, repeats. During that time when that person insulted you, you fought with him, you both were holding the collars and then fighting together and all that stuff. Now you saw this guy after 15 years, this happened like a long back. Even that guy might have forgotten that this thing happened, but you carried that in your memory because that is something that bothered you at that point. Now you met that person, either you kind of move away from that situation or you go there and fight with him. Let's say if that person comes and talks to you, hey Koti, how are you? Then you see the feeling where it is going. I don't have to explain that, but that is where I think the rubber meets the road. That is where all our emotions are at the peak. So that is where this old behavior comes in. So what happened in this cycle? This snapshot that you have triggered a thought, and that triggered the emotion, that triggered the behavior, and the same pattern repeated. Is it not? I think you imagine this. If you keep on repeating this whole thought, there is no chance for the new thought. Unless you empty this, there is no scope for the new thought to be entering there. Okay, so this old memory, old thought, old emotions keep repeating. That is what we do every day, folks. I think not just you guys, but I am telling about myself. I keep repeating the same thing. Wake up, go do my chores in the morning, then come back, look at my phone, look at my emails. Then I would say, oh, this guy is careless guy. This guy is this. Mamata is this. Modi is this. So I keep on judging people. I keep on doing certain things. That old patterns I keep on repeating to myself. Okay. So that is where I think the things are little bit fuzzy at this point. So one thing to understand here is the body can memorize the old emotions. If we feel worry every day, worry becomes familiar to the body. If we feel angry every day, anger becomes familiar to your body. If you feel sadness every day, sadness becomes familiar to your body. And if you keep repeating this whole thing again and again, um, I have seen some people, the couples keep fighting, and without fight they cannot sleep, so they keep on fighting. They even get on the roads, they don't care who thinks what, but they keep on fighting, and that became a pattern for them. And after some times the body starts expecting that old emotion, and if that old emotion doesn't come in, the body feels restless. That is where I think we, as you know, meditators, we have a different approach to build this awareness. Okay, so now moving on to the manifestation. So far what we discussed is about the thoughts, about the emotions, and the mind and the body at a very high level. This is like a 30,000 foot high level. If I need to discuss each of them, it is like a week's time, but I think you guys know at a high level now. So now moving on, why are we not able to manifest? What is wrong with our approach that we are not able to get this? Why are we not able to cure our diseases day to day? So let's understand this. One thing is, are we living in a fantasy world, or are we just wishing things and not acting on it? So manifestation is not saying I want it. Manifestation is not daydreaming without effort. Most of us do this. We don't want to leave our old habits, old emotions, old memories, but we want a miracle and surprise to happen in our life. But remember, the real manifestation is the thought, feeling, belief, and action. Okay, thought, feeling, belief, and action. They all have to come together, bond together, and move forward together. This is where the inner world and the outer behavior match together, and they kind of travel together. Okay, so thought, feeling, belief, and emotion or action. These are the four key essential things that has to travel together. The the brain can build anything, folks. The brain, in the sense mind, it can build the new roads. Okay, the good news is that we can program it. If we don't want to program it, you want to suffer throughout the life, it can go on for decades or for even lives. But if we want to change, if you want to see that manifestation to happen, if you want to transform, the good news is we have the opportunity. The only thing is we need to practice the new thoughts. We need to let go the old thoughts, give the place for the new thoughts to come in. We need to practice the new emotions. We need to practice new actions. If you keep repeating, keep on repeating, over a period of time, that becomes a pattern. And that pattern becomes easier to manifest. That is the key here. Why we are not able to manifest? Because we don't want to leave our old self. Let's say if a 150 years old lady wants to slim, and he doesn't want 150 Elvis lady wants to slim down to 120, and she don't want to leave the sweets, eat too much sugar in a day, four times meal and all that stuff, and she wants to reduce. Is that possible? You guys think? So let's go back to the, I think, crux of the thing here. The simple formula to manifest is your clear thought. You need to have a transparent thought. You need to have clarity on what you want. We started with the clarity there. Most of the times we don't know what we want. Most of the times we don't know why we are asking. We want to become millionaires. We don't know why we want to become millionaires. Get the clarity in your thought and add elevated emotion to it, not just the emotion folks. Elevated emotion. This is the key. Get the clarity in your thought, get the elevated emotion to it, and then make it a pattern. Keep repeating it, and align action with that. If you want to become a millionaire, you should have a clarity of what you would do with this million, why you need this, where do you want to use it. Simply, if you say, I want to become millionaire, leave everything, sit aside and sleep, that is a very broad. But if you have a very narrow thought of what you want to repeat, why you need it, and then create a pattern to it. Okay, so just to recap, I think if you feel unsupported, for example, the old thought comes in, nobody supports me, nobody helps me, I am all alone, lonely, and your action is to withdraw, not to mingle with anybody, always complain on somebody. Koti is always like this. Whenever I go to Koti, he won't help. And always act defensive. Oh, why did you do this? Oh, you know what? Somebody made me to do this. You never take responsibility. And you always want to stick with the people that have the negative approach, that frequency. You want to stay away from people who oppose you. And you always, with those situations, you keep on saying, nobody supports me, nobody likes me, nobody loves me. But if you really want to manifest things, observe things. This is the key. One is you observe the old pattern or old thought that you have. Then release that old emotion. Rehearse the future. That is the third key thing. Then feel that emotional, elevated emotion. That is the fourth key thing. Act the new way and become a new personality. This is the key, folks. Once you observe the old thought, you know why it is coming to you again and again. And once you let go of that, there is an empty space where you can fill with a new thought, with a new future at that point. Okay, and once you have that, you build a feeling towards that new future. Let's say you want to build a house. You let go of the old thought of staying in an apartment or whatever. You imagine that your house has 4 rooms and 3 bathrooms and all that stuff, good stuff that you want to. And you feel that you are already staying in that house and act in that new way. And that becomes the personality that you wanted. This model has been proven multiple times. This model was built with awareness. Nervous system regulation comes here. Neuroplasticity and behavior change has been observed. Multiple experiments have been done with this. The key is repetition. Once you keep on repeating, that forms a pattern. The brain learns through these repeated patterns and practices. That is where I think the final thing comes in. That is where the actual rubber meets the road. Okay. So going back, I think in a fifth grader language, if I want to say the entire thing what we discussed, our thoughts are like seeds. Okay, as long as you hold that seed, it won't germinate. You keep it in a shelf, even after 20 years, that remains in the shelf there. Okay, if you want to seed to germinate, you need to add water to it, and that water is nothing but your feelings. If you see thoughts are seeds, your feelings is a water, and your awareness, the attention towards that is a sunlight. And your strong belief that you can change, the forming the new pattern is nothing but a soil. You keep on fertilizing, you keep on nurturing, you keep on adding stuff to it, you keep on manuring that. That makes the seed to grow. And if you keep on pruning the plant, it can grow much higher. That is nothing but an action. So thoughts, feelings, attention, belief, and action. These are the 5 things we discussed here. I added attention here, but previously we spoke about thoughts, feelings, elevated emotions, and actions. So those are the key things, but we added a bit more for you to understand a bit more. So I took a metaphor of a seed to a plant because we all know. The key is repetition. Once we keep on repeating this, that becomes a kind of pattern for us to take it forward. And finally, manifestation is a tree, the ultimate outcome of everything. Once you keep on repeating these patterns, then that becomes easier for us. And there is a lot more to it, folks, but I just wanted to give my 2 cents to it so you guys know where I am coming from and how and where we are failing at this point. Okay, so any questions there, team?